Welcome, everyone, to the ACW Adrenaline Rush podcast. My name is Andy McLucas. I am your host. I am so excited to be here and to be bringing you this podcast. I think it's going to be awesome. We're going to have some amazing one-to-one interviews with the wrestlers of ACW and may even do some match rewatches as well with the wrestlers that were in the matches. So stick around, subscribe to this podcast. You're not going to want to miss all of the cool stuff that we've got coming your way. Before we get into things today, I just want to give you a quick reminder. This past weekend, we just had a really cool show at the Taco Margarita Festival at the Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena. This was a really cool show for everybody involved because it's an arena show, and there was a great turnout for the show there. I'm going to have the matches available for you on Patreon and YouTube very soon, so you'll want to keep an eye out for those. Upcoming past that, we do have April 19th in Hagerstown, Maryland. We have an awesome show coming your way called Hagerstown Get the Tables. That's right, we have Devon Dudley of the Dudley Boys. He's going to be there doing a meet and greet. We also have Kalisto and also have Al Snow coming in, which was just recently announced. So some really cool names that you're not going to want to pass up the opportunity to meet. They'll be available for signing autographs, taking pictures with the fans. I know Kalisto already has a match booked with Chris Slade. I cannot wait to see that match. I expect that to be a 5-star match. Just two amazing, quick, high-flying guys. It's just going to be an awesome match. We also have coming up on May 5th in Glen Burnie, Maryland, Cinco de Mayo, bro. That's right, Matt Riddle is coming back to ACW. He's had some amazing matches already with us, with Chris Slade and with Ben Bishop. And I'm not sure who he's going to be facing just yet, but we can always expect exciting and great matches from Matt Riddle. Again, you're going to want to have a chance to meet him. And so you'll want to get your tickets to all these shows quickly because they will go fast. Tickets for that are not gonna stick around long. So head over to acwtix.com so you can get access to tickets for those matches. Again, that's acwtix.com. As always, like I mentioned earlier, you can access all the matches on our YouTube channel. And now we have early access to matches on Patreon. Really cool opportunity. I'm excited that we can bring that to you. As a subscriber, you'll get early access to the matches. You'll be listed in the video of the match as a Patreon subscriber and match supporter. So that's a really cool opportunity for you to see your name in one of the matches and in the description of the match. And then we also are going to have this podcast available there. We will have a video option, which if that's what you're watching right now, you're obviously a subscriber. But if you're just listening to this, head over to Patreon. We have a video version of this podcast available there. And we'll also have some extended cuts of the podcast available there on audio and video. So some really cool content that you're just not going to want to miss. Definitely head over there to Patreon and subscribe to our channel. Moving on, we have a guest with us today. I'm excited to play back this interview for you. This is going to be an one-on-one interview with somebody that I think you'll all know and somebody that you all love. That's right, I'm talking about the Maryland legend himself, James Ellsworth. All right, so we've got the Maryland legend here with us, James Ellsworth. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, my man. How are you, Andy?
Doing well. Thanks for coming on and being the part of the very first podcast. So I really appreciate it.
It's Adrenaline Championship Wrestling. It's my home, and
Right.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad ACW is still around. This year is going to be our 15-year anniversary. Like, we're rocking and rolling, brother, ain't we?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think pretty much everybody that watches this probably knows a bit about who you are, but tell us a little bit about yourself, who's James Ellsworth as the person.
I mean, I'm 5'8", 169 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes. Sorry, girls, I'm taken. Happily married. I have 2 daughters. No, but I'm from Baltimore. I'm a Baltimore native. Love wrestling my whole life. Got into it in 2002. When I was 17 years old, and been doing it ever since. I've been very blessed. I've done it on every level. Been very blessed to run my own promotion, ACW, what talking about here. And yeah, man, like my life is just family and wrestling. That, and I like football and baseball, but that's, thank God, that's my getaway. I get to watch
Yeah.
those things and enjoy it. But my life though was family and wrestling.
So you did mention you're from Baltimore. So something I just in general I like to ask people from Baltimore. Yeah, I know you're a diehard Ravens fan. Who did you root for before the Ravens were a team?
Oh, very good question. So, when I was very young, I'd say 5 or 6, I asked my dad, like, who's the closest team? He said the Redskins. So, started rooting for them. But, when I was a kid, the the most popular football player was Joe Montana.
Hmm.
And when they were talking about how he was older and he went to the Chiefs,
Okay.
and they were all like, "Oh, he's past his prime." So I don't know. I was like probably 8 or 9 years old when he went to the Chiefs. So I started liking the Chiefs because of Joe Montana, and he winded up taking them to the playoffs and all that. And yeah, so I more so the Chiefs, and then as soon as the Ravens came in '96, that was it because I'm such a Baltimore guy. Like I
Right.
ditched the Chiefs, I ditched the Redskins, I went right to the Ravens, and just loved them ever since.
What would you say is kind of the thing that really drew you to wrestling? When did you start watching it? Were you a kid or a little bit older?
Oh, I was very young. I was probably 4 or 5. First wrestler I ever remember seeing was the Ultimate Warrior, like in
Okay.
1989. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this guy looks like a superhero. But yeah, I was like, and then so I was, flipping through the channels. My grandfather, he liked wrestling. He was the only one in my family liked wrestling. He showed me NWA. I remember seeing the Rock and Roll Express. Those are
Hmm.
so the first wrestlers I remember are the Ultimate Warrior and the Rock and Roll Express. And
Yeah.
I was such fans of those guys at such a young age, and then the Rockers came along in WWF,
Mhm.
and they just it was like it was like they looked like the Rock and Roll Express, but like different in a way. It's the same
Right.
kind of thing, and I fell in love with the Rockers, and Shawn Michaels was my favorite ever since the Rockers.
Now, was it always like was wrestling always the dream, or did you have like any other sports that you really kind of wanted to pursue originally?
So yeah, wrestling was always the dream. Like I can't remember not wanting to be a wrestler. I always wanted to
Yeah.
be a wrestler. I played baseball when little league, 5 to 15, so 10 years I played baseball from age 5 till I was 15.
Okay.
Really enjoyed playing baseball, but that was just something I enjoyed doing. It was never the dream. um and yeah, wrestling was always number one to me. Is I just wanted to be a wrestler. I wanted to be involved with wrestling. I Anything that dealt with wrestling, I just wanted to do.
Yeah. Nice. So I know you were trained by Axel Rotten. How did you get connected with him, and what was it like training with him?
So I started a wrestling school called Bone Breakers in 2002 for MCW, Maryland Championship Wrestling, and
Okay.
Axel was training there for the only first he was only there for the first couple of weeks I was there, and then they had a falling out or whatever. And I trained at Bone Breakers for a year, 4 or 5 times a week for a whole year. And Bone Breakers they winded up shutting Bone Breakers down, and MCW was gone for a couple of years. So I reconnected with Axel, going to indie shows like Kaida Pro Wrestling. Kaida Pro Wrestling, they had a cool name. It was Kaida, KYDA, Keep Your Dreams Alive Wrestling.
Hmm.
Really cool name, out of Virginia. And I rode, and we picked Axel Doyle Day, and I actually picked Axel up for his show. And I just got to talking to him and got to really know him. Started going to shows with him all the time. He would train me before the shows. Um, and then we would go to like local wrestling school and train there. And yeah, it just we really connected. Just had a nice, like, I don't know, bond. And yeah, I learned so much from him. He was such an underrated mind, such a great mind, about the business, and I was very blessed to be around him. And I don't think I would have gotten as far as I did without his knowledge.
And then so when you first started, I know you were Jimmy Dream. And then that developed into Pretty Jimmy Dream, or is that just from the get-go?
No, it was just Jimmy Dream at first because I was like, my name's Jimmy and this is my dream. So I just kind of threw that together.
Yeah.
And it kind of rolled off the tongue. Jimmy Dream, it just sounded cool. And then I was like, all right, I don't really have a gimmick. I'm just Jimmy Dream. And this is my dream. That's my gimmick. I'm wearing dream catchers. And, it was cute and all for a starter gimmick. And I was like, I was at a signing one time. I think it was like 2007. And looking at the beautiful people who were in TNA at the time. I was at a signing with Axel, actually.
Okay.
looking at the beautiful people. And I remember telling Axel, I was like, what if I acted like I was one of the beautiful people? And he laughed. And I said, see, that's the reaction I'm looking for. He's like, what do you mean? I said, what if I dyed my hair blonde? Because I used to have brown hair. And, and I wore fishnets and I came out in them all wearing mascara, acting like I'm pretty. And I called
Yeah.
myself Pretty Jimmy Dream. And he said, dude, he's like, that's so fantastic. He's like, now you have to do it. He's like, that's great. I was like, yeah, I'm just acting like them. And it's funny because obviously I'm a rugged looking individual. I don't look like, I belong on GQ magazine. So it worked, man. I come out and act like I was pretty, and people are like, you are, what the hell? Like, I got the reaction it was a lot of fun.
Nice. That's awesome. So at some point along the way, before you got into WWE, is that you would have started ACW before that? Is that right?
So ACW was started in 2009 from a guy by the name of Christopher Evans,
Okay.
who ran into me at a mall. This is when I met him. He knew my partner Adam Ugly and I, Pretty Ugly, the tag team I was in. Pretty Jimmy, Adam Ugly, Pretty Ugly. It was really really fun gimmick. And he saw us at the mall one day. He said, "Hey, I know you guys. You're Pretty Ugly. I'm starting this wrestling company. Like, you guys be a part of it, and it's going to start in Annapolis, Maryland." I'm like, "Oh, cool. That sounds fun." So we became friends with him. We the first show, the first ACW show ever, had like 40 guys on the show. It was so long. It was like 12 matches. So I remember that was like the first thing that stuck out. I was like, "Oh man, this is fun." Like, I appreciated the opportunity that Chris gave us, and he really like was a fan of what Adam and I were doing. We were the first ever ACW tag team champions. He put us in the ring with the Rock and Roll Express, who I grew up watching, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
And for a couple of years there, it stuck around, but it kept losing money, kept losing money. And he before I became the owner of ACW, he made me booker. I
Okay.
started booking the matches, writing storylines, and like first time I ever done that, and I was really enjoying it. And I had like no money involved yet, and like it started like I remember I booked Shelton Benjamin versus Black Cheese. If people aren't
Okay.
familiar with Black Cheese, he was big on the indies back in the mid 2000s there 2010s. And it was Shelton Benjamin's first match after he got released from WWE back in 2010, I believe.
Okay.
And I remember that was the first main event I booked, and it was so good. And I was like, oh man, I was very proud of that. And I was like, man, this is fun booking matches and just like using my imagination to tell these stories. And I was having a lot of fun with it. And the shows, people were like, I remember like writing something and just seeing the crowd react to it, and that was just
Right.
as cool as being in the ring and people reacting to it. It was like another level of like, oh, this is awesome for me, a personal thing.
Right.
So I was like, oh man, this, and then, but the shows were still losing money because Chris was overspending, and Chris, I'm sure I'm not talking smack when I'm like he would tell you this. Um, so they kept losing money. Then I was like, hey man, you want me to help you with the money? I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe if I can help him with the money, he'll listen to me, and we'll cut a lot of this out. We'll cut a lot of matches out. We'll have less talent, less is more. Shows will be quicker.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so I remember first show made a profit. Check, second show made a profit where I was working with him. And, but he didn't really he was going through a hard time or whatever, and he didn't really have the money to invest. So I kind of bought the belts from him, bought the banners from him, everything that he owned.
Yeah.
I just started running it myself, and man, and that was 2000, I guess 2011, and so I've been running it ever since.
And then, so when you transitioned to WWE, were you like hands on with ACW, or did you kind of hand over the reins temporarily to anybody?
Oh no, so it was hard because I was on the road all the time. Because when I was in WWE 2016, 17, and 18, they were still running house shows every weekend, doing
Yeah.
three overseas tours a year. And these are like 2 or 3 week long tours, which so I'm like, how am I going to keep ACW alive? But my normal schedule would be I would fly into a town on Saturday. We would do SmackDown house shows Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and then Tuesday would be SmackDown Live on
Mhm.
USA. So I'm like, man, if I could run one Friday a month, if I could run ACW one Friday a month, because I didn't want to abandon anybody. I didn't want to ACW to go under. So
Yeah.
we started renting this building in Denton, Maryland, the fire hall down there once a month on a Friday. So the whole time I was at WWE for those, 2+ years, 2016, 17, 18, I kept ACW afloat. One, and I mean, it was hard because I couldn't
Yeah.
really put a lot into it, but I did keep it around. I kept it afloat. I made sure the guys still had the ACW to work at, the local guys who, I do care about a lot. Um, yeah, it stayed around. It didn't go anywhere, and I'm proud to say that because that was not an easy time to keep
Yeah.
ACW around. But I didn't abandon it. I didn't say, "Oh man, I'm in WWE now. I don't need this." No, it was still very important to me. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And then what would you say, like, for people who have maybe not checked out ACW, what kind of sets ACW apart from maybe some of the other indie promotions that are out there?
so if you come to ACW, man, I feel like our talent, you get a little bit of everything,
Hmm.
and everyone's and I mean this, and and people will second guess this or what. Everyone has something to offer that's on the shows. Everyone's good. Um, it's not easy to get on an ACW show. I just don't give away spots. I don't go, oh, well,
Right.
you're this guy's buddy. Here's a spot. Or like, I make sure you have something to offer before I put you on a show. And we have such a good crew, man. Like, everybody gets along. No one's like, politicking for the belt, just like, and I think that separates us from a lot of indies, man. You go to these, a lot of these indie shows, there's people on the show that just backdoor their way into business. There's people on the show that aren't ready to be on shows. There's people that are on the shows that think they're better than they are. Like, I mean, that's with any job, though. With any
Right.
job, there's people like that. But ACW, I don't want to say put up with that. We don't have that
Yeah.
because if you're on one of the ACW shows, that means to me that you have something to offer the audience that are paying anywhere from $20 to $80 for a ticket.
So kind of shifting gears a little bit from ACW to your WWE career, what kind of things were you doing that got you noticed? Because I know initially you kind of came in like as enhancement talent and stuff like that. So what were some things that you did that kind of got noticed?
Well, it was that Strowman match. I did the promo and the Vince. So the guys that were standing in the gorilla with Vince, like Enzo was one of them, Chris Jericho was another one. Told me this afterward. So I cut the promo and Vince looked around. Was like, man, that was a damn good promo. Like, and I'm just there being an extra talent. Like I didn't
Right.
like that. The whole story was you get to say your last words before Braun Strowman executes you. Like that was the story we were telling.
Yeah.
And so I cut the promo. So Vince watches the match and my facial, I'm telling a story with my facial expressions. That mean I learned that at WWE. Well, I learned it before WWE, but it helped me get a job. What I'm about to explain. So, and then my facial expressions and my selling, like everything he did to me, I just acted like he killed me, which I mean it wasn't hard because he was really killing me. and, so after the match, I get to the back and they're like, Vince wants to see you. And I was scared to death. I thought I did something wrong. I thought he was gonna kick me out of the building. I was never gonna wrestle there again. I was like, what? So, because I was like, why would he want to see me? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, why? So I go see him. He says, "Come here." He goes, "Your facial expressions were great. Your selling was great. He's like, your verbiage was awesome." He goes, "I have no choice but to hire you, and I'll
Wow.
be in touch." And this is like during a live episode of Raw. Like he took his headset off and just told me all that. And I remember just like I felt like I was in a movie. I'm
Yeah.
like everything stopped, and I didn't hear anything else around me. And I'm just looking at him, and he shakes my hand and he walks away. And Triple H comes up to me and goes, "Hey man, he's not kidding. He'll be in touch with you." It was so cool, and yeah, that's how it happened. Like, and it was like the most amazing day of my life. And when people ask me what was your best match, what was your favorite match, I said the minute and 29 seconds I did against Braun Strowman.
And then so shortly after you got signed, I know you had an opportunity to work with AJ Styles kind of in the main event type picture. Were you surprised that you were kind of pushed to that main event type situation that early?
Well, yeah, because things changed so quickly at WWE. Initially, I was brought in to be a part of the Miz Dolph Ziggler story that they were doing at the time over the Intercontinental title. Because like the Miz had beat me up on the ramp on a SmackDown. Like I was supposed to team with AJ against Cena and Dean Ambrose, who is now John Moxley, as we all know.
Mhm.
But the Miz came out and beat me up before the match, and he wound up being AJ's partner. So they were like, "Yeah, we're going to bring you back in a couple of weeks, and you'll be facing Miz for the Intercontinental title." And I thought that was cool. I was
That's
like,
awesome.
"Wow!"
Yeah.
And so a couple of weeks later, I come back on a flight. It was a flight over from Baltimore to San Jose, California, which is a 5-hour flight. The whole flight, I'm watching Miz matches on
Yeah.
YouTube, just watching Miz match after Miz match after Miz match, studying for
Right.
this big opportunity. And I was like, by the time I landed, I was like, oh man, this could be easy. The Miz, he's so easy to wrestle. Like he's great. And this could be a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Get to the arena. Adam Pierce came up to me and goes, "What if I told you you were pinning the world champion tonight?" And I knew Adam from the Indies. Like we knew each other.
Okay.
We had been on shows with each other over the years. And I said, "I'd call you a liar." And he goes, "I wouldn't lie to you, Jimmy." And he walked away and he called me Jimmy. I was like, "Oh, okay, he does remember me." Like, and he walks away. And I was like, whatever, man. I thought he was just ribbing me. Like, I thought he was joking. So I sit down and catering, eating breakfast. I got there super early. AJ walks in, sits next to me and goes, "Hey, me and you tonight, kid." And like, I was like, what? These guys are just messing with me. Like, whatever. Like, I'm not facing AJ Styles, who's the WWE champion at the time, who
Right.
in 2016 was the best wrestler in the world.
Mhm.
I'm like, I ain't facing. Like, I still didn't think I was facing him, but like they were telling me, and I'm like, pfft. And then Arn Anderson calls me to ringside. He was the agent for the match. He goes, "Hey, this is what's happening. It's you and AJ, and Moxley's going to be the referee, and it's non-title, and he's just going to help you beat him." And like he's just going through it so nonchalant. And I go, "Wait, like," and I'm thinking to myself, "Holy crap! Like I am beating the WWE. Like they're having me pin the WWE champion. Like I don't care how they're doing it. This is
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like." And I know how they work, so right away I was like, "Oh my god, they're gonna have me beat them. Then I'm gonna like wrestle them for the titles like soon, like because that's just how it works."
Yeah.
And so we do the match. Match was fun. Like Moxley or Ambrose at the time hits him with his finish, puts me on top of him 1, 2, 3. And I was like, I'm thinking to myself, what is going on? Like 3 months ago, I was just wrestling at VFWs and like bingo halls, which is nothing wrong with that. I still to this day love to do that. I'm like, now I'm pinning the WWE champion. What is? And a week later, we had the title match in Denver, Colorado, and they made that T-shirt of me, and the crowd's just chanting my name, and I'm wrestling for the title against the best wrestler in the world. And I remember thinking that day, well, I'm like, look, I'm probably going to be here for a little while because they're doing all this cool stuff with me. I said, but it's never going to get as good as this. I'm wrestling the best wrestler in the world in the main event of SmackDown for the WWE title, and they made a T-shirt of me that they're selling at the concession stands, and everyone in the building is chanting my name. I said, "This is a dream. This is
Right.
what I've dreamed of. Like, it's not going to get any better than this. So I'm going to take all this in. I'm going to enjoy this." And I did. I really enjoyed that match. It was a good match. It was a fun match. And then a couple weeks later, I wrestled him in a ladder match for my contract.
Okay.
And
I remember that one. Yeah.
yeah, and that was the best match I had against him. They had me win my contract in that match, and it's just, dude, like wrestling like I said, the best wrestler in the world who happened to be the WWE champion at the time. Like it's something that like I never thought in a million years I'd be doing, obviously.
Yeah.
And it was a very special time in my life that I'll never forget, and I'll always cherish that. AJ was such a class act. He was so easy to work with, and so was Moxley. We had a lot of fun with that. That we all got along. We were doing shenanigans on all the house shows where I was wrestling AJ, or I was getting involved in their matches on the house show, whether I was like the timekeeper and just in Moxley's corner, I was doing a run in. And we just had a lot of fun with it, and it was a very special time in my life for sure.
Yeah, and then so I know shortly after that so you were on the SmackDown brand. They had Survivor Series. You were the mascot for Survivor Series. And one of the clips I kind of always see popping up is where it's got both teams in the ring, and Jericho confronts you and puts you on the list, which I think is got to be one of my favorite like gimmicks that Jericho had done. So what was that like talking? I know you and Jericho are close. What was that relationship like, and what was it like working with Jericho?
Well, I remember like we became close before like I started coming to TV all the time because he had me on Talk is Jericho here in Baltimore. We backstage at a Raw, and so like after the Talk is Jericho, we sat there for an hour and a half after we recorded the initial Talk is Jericho I did with him, and we just became buddies. Like we had a
Yeah.
lot in common. We a lot of music and movies and all this, and we just talked for an hour and a half. So when they told me I was going to be on SmackDown instead of Raw, I was kind of bummed because I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, I'm gonna be. Jericho's the one I'm like closest with. That moment you're talking about where he put me on the list, we were doing this thing because it was SmackDown versus Raw at the Survivor Series coming up. So
Yeah.
we were doing this thing where the SmackDown team was interrupting Raw, invading Raw. Like it was just me, Moxley, Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt. Like everybody was in the SmackDown team. AJ Styles were all on the plane, and we're reading the script the whole time. So when we get there, Jericho just looks at me and smiles. He goes, "Yeah, that script that you read, we're not doing that." He's like, "I'm gonna put you on the list. That's what we're doing." And I was like, oh, "What?" And being on the list was like winning a title back then. It got you
Yeah.
noticed. Like
Yeah.
so that moment you're talking about, I see that video every day because someone from around the world, at least two or three people a day, send me that video, whether it's on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. I get sent that video every single day of my life.
Yeah.
So 'cause it
Well,
was hilarious.
yeah. And then so shortly after that, I believe that's when you got paired up with Carmella, which was kind of like an like odd couple type pairing, I feel like. And correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like maybe like the only time in the history of WWE where we've seen a man managing a woman. But what was that pitch like to you? How did you enjoy doing that angle with her? And
Well, it wasn't the first time a man has managed a woman because Harvey Whippleman managed Bertha Faye. You
okay,
remember
yep.
that? But old downtown Bruno. But so it was Carmella's idea. And
Okay.
she kind of the way that came about, she was telling me, hey, all the girls in the dressing room were talking about how funny you were and just how, we're very entertained by you, which was cool to hear. Like, oh, all the WWE chicks think I'm funny. Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. And
Yeah.
so she goes, and then like I think it was Alexa Bliss says, oh, what if like when he's done with AJ and Moxley, what if like they pair him with one of us? That wouldn't that be funny? And everybody she said Carmella heard that and just kept her mouth shut
Okay.
and went and pitched it to Vince for her because she wasn't doing anything at the time. Like she was feuding with Nikki Bella and just losing all the matches to Nikki Bella.
Yeah.
And she wasn't with Enzo and Kaz because they did that in NXT. They didn't bring her up to the main roster with Enzo and Kaz because they were doing their own thing. Um, so she went and pitched that idea, and Vince just loved it. Vince is like, "Oh my!" She's like, "What if I make him believe that I like him and he helps me win matches?" And
Yeah.
and he just loved it. And um, I had a lot of fun with it. So I remember somebody there tell me like, "Hey, your job's to get her over. That's
Yeah.
your job." So and I took that personally. I'm like, all right. And she was a girl that was doing jobs every week. She wasn't winning matches. Like I said, I was like, all right, I'm going to get this girl to me. I was like, I'm going to get this girl to the title. She's going to win the title. I'm going to help her. So I did everything I could for that gimmick. Like I acted like she was the hottest woman in the world. I acted like she was the best women's wrestler of all time. I said it in promos. There was this one promo where I was like, she's better than Ronda Rousey. She's better than Charlotte Flair. She's better than Asuka. She's better than Bayley. She's better than like I was just putting her over so much, and like I took that such and her and I got along great. We were good friends at the time. Like, and we still, if I text her right now, she'll text back. Like, we're a very cool girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, we at that one TV relationship lasted 13 months.
Okay.
Like,
Wow.
it was 13 months of television because and you don't see a lot of that these days. I mean, you got it with Rhea and Dom right now, but
Yeah.
like I think a lot of that is because Carmel and I did so well. It got, she was the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match winner because I helped her win it. And then she cashed it in and won the title. I got her. That was my goal, was to help her get to the title. I achieved that. And I was like, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
And I got along with all the girls. Like there was not one girl there I didn't get along with. They were all and they worked so hard, man. Like the WWE, the women's roster there in WWE, those girls work so hard. Like they're in those makeup chairs all day, trying to look the part. They're working out. They're going over their matches and rehearsal for long periods of time. They work very hard, and like I had such a blast working with each and every one of them.
I know we got a little bit of time left. Circling back to ACW, talk about what we've got coming up and what people can kind of expect in the next couple months of ACW.
So ACW coming up, to answer your question, though, we have the Taco Margarita Festival this weekend in Baltimore. It's going to be it's at a 5,000 seat arena. Like it's going to be packed full of people. We got Hagerstown, where we've been running Hagerstown for 10 years, since 2014.
Yeah, I love the new arena, the new place we've been running in Hagerstown. The Breakaway Sports Lounge is awesome. It's such a cool venue.
Yeah, we actually ran there in 2019. I remember David Rep, one of our referees. He went to a Puddle of Mud concert there, and he calls me up. This is 2019. He goes, "Man, we have this. There's this really cool venue here. You got to come check it out." And we did a couple of shows there, and then during the pandemic, they shut down and they switched ownership. The new owner is very, very nice lady. Um, so I'm glad we're like, I started talking to her over the summer, and I'm glad we're there now. Like we had Kurt Angle there in October, and then over 500 people. Then we had Matt Riddle there just 2 months ago in February, over 500 people. Like they've been great shows there so far. We got the next one coming up with Devon Dudley and Al Snow and Kalisto on April the 19th. And if anybody wants to check out our website, it's acwtix.com. Such an easy website to remember, and all the information on there is real easy and simple to get to. It gets updated. My lovely wife runs it. She updates it whenever I need her to. It's such a breath of fresh air with her that she's able just to get on it just like that, because it's very important. And yeah, like last year was, like I said, our best year ever, best year for me ever. And I appreciate everybody, man. Like sometimes it gets hectic at the shows, and I don't get as moody as I used to. Because like again, I always admit I'm not perfect. Like there's people out there like they don't admit that they make mistakes. Like I'm big on that. I'm like, no, man, I'm not perfect. Like I'll make a mistake or two, but um I'm getting better with that, where it's like, and I think a lot of it is a lot of you guys just help me out so much. Like I don't have to worry about the shows being recorded because you handle that. I don't have to worry about the sound because Chad's doing an amazing job with the sound. Like
Yeah.
He's like, and that adds to the show so much when you don't have to worry about those things. And all I have to worry about is booking the show and make sure the guys are telling the stories I want them to tell, that they want to tell, that the people are going to react to. But yeah, like I think going forward, man, like right now we're doing so well. It's going to be more of the same this year. And then, we got the relationship with MCW now. We just had the ACW MCW Fan Jam back in February, which, MCW's been running in Maryland for since 1998. And like now we have a good relationship with them, which 10 years ago you never thought it would happen, but you live and you learn, and you do good, but like, and we've done such good business. We all get along. There's no, just because they take it seriously too.
Yeah.
They want to make money off of it as well.
Yeah.
And so that you'll see more of that. We're going to do Fan Jam again, which was such a successful event, and we can't wait to do that again. Then yeah, like I want to go to some. I'm going to hit some new towns this year, maybe some new Pennsylvania towns. We were doing Hanover, Pennsylvania, like every year. And, like maybe hit some more Pennsylvania towns this year, like I said. Just continue to go to Glen Burnie, Maryland. Glen Burnie, Maryland, and Hagerstown, Maryland are like our homes. I mean, we hit Cambridge a couple times a year. We hit Sykesville a couple times a year, but like Glen Burnie and Hagerstown were, those are the two towns we hit the most, and we're going to continue that. But yeah, man, like if anybody hasn't checked out an ACW show, like please come and give it a try. It's acwtix.com. Andy will tell you we have fun at our shows. The guys have fun, and in return, the fans have fun because they can tell the guys are having a good time with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate the time. Looking forward to this weekend and doing the show at the arena. And hope you have a good rest of your day, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Andy. I appreciate all you do for ACW. Take care. God bless. See you this weekend. And everybody, remember, any man with two hands has a fighting chance.
Thanks to everyone who listened or watched the podcast. Thanks again to James Ellsworth for coming on. Don't forget to head over to Patreon for an extended audio and video of the podcast.